Welcome to this edition of the People Dividend. I'm your host, Mike Horne, and I am absolutely delighted to have in our virtual studio today Juan Luis Betancourt. And you'll have to correct me, Juan, if I didn't get the surname correctly, Betancourt, but I hope that's it. And he is the CEO at Human Intelligence, which is AI for smarter collaboration. He's designed award-winning SaaS and so much more. Currently CEO at Human Intelligence, which is, again, AI for smarter collaboration. I hope we talk about that in today's episode. CEO and founder at Gonza, a leading private equity-focused executive search firm. Former partner at Korn & Ferry and Heidrick & Struggles, to global human capital consulting firms. And also CEO of Decathlon, which was a global sports manufacturer, and former CMO and Chief Operating Officer at Puma, where he led the global sports brand turnaround. Juan firmly believes that connection is the key to a fulfilling life. Deep, meaningful relationships are what truly defines existence, growth, and understanding, both personally and professionally. So, Juan, again, welcome to the People Dividend podcast. Why don't you say a few words about yourself to our guests?
Thanks for having me today, Mike. I'm blessed to be in a position where my lifelong superpower of connecting with others, whether it was being popular and social in school, to having a 20-year career outside the U.S. where I learned 5 languages like English, and really created community in Germany, in France, in Brazil, in Puerto Rico, in China, Mexico, being able to understand humanity, understand cultures at a much deeper level, which then also made me a better executive, which at the end of the day led me to launch Human Intelligence, where I've kind of extended my human DNA into the other code, software code, where everyone can now understand each other and work better together, collaborate better, lead better, and reduce conflict at work between people.
I think it's so interesting that I think that a lot of these experiences that people have living in places other than those places they call home makes a profound difference in life. I think about, earlier in my life as a Peace Corps volunteer, spending 3 years in what was dubbed at that time the Fourth World, being on a little speck of dirt in the middle of a very vast Pacific Ocean. It certainly creates or helps you understand the world, I think, in different ways. And then when you move into corporate settings, as I did in global consulting, and, having consulted and worked in big organizations in lots of different parts of the world, I think it's those earlier cross-cultural experiences that can really shape that. Why don't you talk about that from your own personal experience, Juan? Because I think that comes to bear.
Yeah, so I think you're spot on. Your experience living abroad at a younger age, and working abroad, because I think just visiting countries is different than actually working. Everyone loves visiting France, but you cannot find many people who love working in France, right? I spent 5 years.
I don't know.
There.
It's very difficult to be terminated in France
as well if you get a job.
Having led HR for tech companies.
So, I think, one thing is language. Another thing is how to communicate, right? And for example, in France, what makes an American a great leader in the US is being direct and being efficient in the use of words and sentences, and doing something very quickly. And in France, that's completely offensive. You are a crude, uneducated person if you actually say what you want. You're actually supposed to suggest without saying it in a very roundabout way, in an elegant way, which is kind of meandering all over the place. But that means that you're highly educated and sophisticated. And because there isn't discrepancies in compensation and everyone's equal, the only way you can prove differentiation in France is through language. That's how you show that you're a superstar. And so the more nuanced and the less direct you are, the higher positions in society you'll gain. And so it's completely backwards compared to the US. And so imagine doing that in France. When I then went to Germany, which has a whole nother way of communicating, doing that in Brazil, it helps you deconstruct how humans operate, how they think, And so it makes you much more agile. And once you're more agile in the corporate environment, you can deal with any challenge, any context much easier, because to twist your brain and your mind around communication in different cultures makes working in your own country in your own language so much easier, no matter what the contextual challenge is.
But that's for sure. I used to, one of my clients was Business Objects at one time, one of France's biggest technology companies. I'm not sure I don't think they're still around anymore. But in all the work that I did with them relative to their sales culture and their organizational culture, the French style of management is so completely different than I think you'll find in many other parts of the world. What always confused me when I began my consulting career was to get plopped in, in the middle of an assignment in Sydney or Auckland or someplace where English was the lingua franca, only to realize that so many of my cultural assumptions did not work. And then later, living in Switzerland, working for a big global pharma, to discover that, American optimism isn't so well regarded everywhere else in the world. The perennially optimistic side of Americans. And you've like global brands. I mean, Juan, you have a global business now, and what's a very, topical area. I know that I've done about 4 presentations over the course of the last couple of months to big HR groups on the intersection of HR and AI and where are we headed and how does all of that look. It's been going on for some time now, but tell us about what you're doing, because you're certainly operating in that space. That would be of interest to many of our listeners.
Yeah, so human intelligence takes the world of AI because AI can be applied to so many niches. And so the niche that we have found is revolutionizing an existing area. We're not coming out with something new. We're taking the world of talent development, talent management, L&D, what they call leadership, learning and development, and then also leadership development. That world has been very high touch, white glove, expensive, and only for executives, right? You get a IO psychologist consultant comes in and does a team building session with the executive leadership team. They spend $20,000 for a 3-hour session where people take a personality test, and the consultant explains everybody how they can get along better, et cetera, team dynamics. They go back to work 3 weeks later, zero memory of it, complete waste of money. And it's only for the elites at companies. What we've done is turn that upside down. We've taken our psychometric test. That's a 37-year validated assessment, psychometric instrument that measures behaviors, motivators, work styles, leadership styles, communication styles, and learning styles. And we've also been able to upload any other assessment in the world, Hogan, DISC, predictive index. So we're agnostic to the assessment. But then what's really unique is how we use a ChatGPT interface, just a little bar, or prefabricated prompted questions where you can ask around questions in that bar, or just pick a question around how do I communicate with Mike, and it'll just answer based on your psychometrics mind. Where is there conflict between Mike and Juan, or 2 subordinates are having conflict? Why is there conflict? Oh, Juan's decisive, Mike is deliberate. Oh, Juan is conceptual, Mike is very detail oriented. They're not seeing eye to eye. And then rolling the data up for a team. And instead of doing a workshop and spending 20,000, now you can just ask your AI coach, we call it the HT coach, at any moment on any device in the parking lot before you take over the new store at Starbucks with 20 employees. You could literally just pull up and say, how do I motivate this new team? And it just starts answering, going through 400 pages of content around the psychometrics, and it'll tell you, do these 3 things. This team likes to do continuous learning. Tell them that you'll invest in that. This team likes to express their ideas. They're very maverick, so give them a forum for that. So all the things you need around leadership to be a better leader, around conflict resolution to reduce conflict, around onboarding, around training, every personalization of training for one person who learns differently from another person. All of this for thousands of people in one day. They only upload an assessment or take ours. And it's only for a couple dollars per person per month, a value per employee of over $50,000 a year. It is the future of AI for work. And it's the future where AI will make work more human, not replacing people, but actually enhancing them and having all performance improve at an organization.
Now, how does this? I love it. I mean, I think there's just so much benefit that will come about within the AI era of management. And certainly, what I talk about in my new book, The People Dividend: Leadership Strategies for Unlocking Potential. But let's, I'm thinking about all that you're saying. Humanintelligence.com. Go check it out. Some amazing things. All of this with the personality indicators. But I'm one of those people you talk about. I'll take a group of 12 executives out to a beautiful setting in some part of the world and charge them a lot of money for a couple of days that, I hope results in something. And, even better if I have a repeat customer with them and can work for them over a long term, which is what I would usually go in for. Or, as an executive coach to founders and people in the C-suite and retained by boards of directors for executive assessment. Well, how's all this bear for me? I know places like Better Up Coaching exist, but I offered a more tailored service design for leaders. How does this all work for us?
So this does not replace coaches and consultants. It makes them better and gets them much more work. And here's why and how. First, today, when you do that offsite and you bring an executive team with you, you probably have a go-to framework and way of coaching, and you do the same thing for Group A and Group B. What this will do, you get them all to take the assessment beforehand. You don't have to spend a week to two weeks reading everyone's assessment and trying to understand how to train them. You literally can ask the question, how should I train this group? And it's going to pull out 4 things relevant to Group A that saves you 2 weeks of research. Okay, so it's going to save you time. It's going to make you better and more effective in how you train Group A, because Group B, the week after, they're completely different. One group might want experiential learning and very practical. The other one might want just conceptual in the classroom. And so the way you do the training would be personalized by group. And then in the examples you use within the training, you can pull out who are the 2 most extremely different people and already know that going into the meeting. Who are the most similar people? You can get questions like, why is this group or this team not achieving its strategy of being execution oriented and very fast paced? Oh, because of this. So you can already go in with assumptions that are accurate to gear the training on to make it more personalized, to know why this team is not achieving its strategy. You could work with the leader of this team a lot more effectively and have them help you ask questions. You could produce, let's say, if you have a leadership book, like the Leadership Principles by Ram Charan is a book that a lot of leaders like. You can actually put in there and see, why is this team aligned to this principles in this book and why it's not, allowing you to not only be certified in your own framework, but allowing you to pull from all the knowledge of everything in the world and all thought leadership around coaching and management principles, where you now can use this coach as a coach to you to be a better coach. So whatever principle management book, let's say your client wants you to apply a new principle, you don't have to go spend 3 weeks reading and learning about it. You can just use like ChatGPT and get the cliff notes and have it put this team and every person in this team within the context of that principle. So it makes you a better coach. It makes these offsites more effective. And then the last thing, when they go back to work, you can now have them tell them, do you like that for your team, what we did today? What if all 10,000 people can get the same kind of learning? I'm going to license you a tool called Human Intelligence that we've been using here for all of your employees. What leadership team is going to say, no, we don't want all of our employees to be this?
I want to sign up for that.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can make money. We do a profit sharing where you would get 20% of the revenue of any deals that then go on. And, a $200,000 deal, you're getting $40,000 a year in perpetuity. So it's you're going to get deeper in organizations now and then do more offsites or go visit teams. So you won't just be stuck at the top. You'll be going much deeper as well. So many reasons why coaches should embrace this AI technology for coaching and not resist it.
Now, a lot of people always ask me, what makes for an executive, successful executive and organization development consultant. And, people usually give me elaborate answers, but since I've been at this business and, I've had the great privilege of helping so many smart people, so many smart leaders, and have an impact on their own development, their teams and their organizations. What I know that makes a successful executive and organization development consultant is having a client. You don't have a client, you can't be successful. Does this help people to get clients?
Yes, in that when you're pitching against other consultants, you'll be able to say that you're leveraging the latest technologies to bring forward the most broad spectrum of content possible, because now you're going to be able to present content from the entire world of thought leadership and not just any one framework, because most consultants have their go-to tricks. This is makes you a lot more broad, and so any one consultant can now pitch against McKinsey, pitch against Bain, pitch against the largest companies, because now every consultant can play at the same level as the largest companies, the largest consulting firms with the biggest budgets. So it kind of creates an equal playing field, and those who use this can say, we are better, I am better, I will be able to do more with your team quicker than anybody who's not using this technology.
Well, and the proof is that over 300 companies run on SaaS from human intelligence, and they're from business consulting, food and beverage, retail, technology, HR, recruiting, many others. So, when you think about all of this, Juan, well, why human intelligence? I mean, personality assessments, AI, collaboration solution, easy to understand. How do we really get to the essence of all of this?
At the end of the day, companies are having challenges engaging with their employees. And an engagement survey, the things they've been doing for 10 years, these surveys that say people are happy or not, does nothing to operationalize engagement. Actually connecting with others and understanding, and everyone coming to the middle, and a boss being able to manage every subordinate differently, which in the old days, you just did what your boss said. They didn't have to adapt to you. Today, you will lose an employee if you don't manage each one separately and see each one, not tagging them in this crazy DI situation where everybody's part of a group. Well, no, everyone wants to be seen as individuals, not as parts of groups. I think the election recently kind of, whether we're surprised by it or not, actually proved that out at the political level. But I also think at companies, people want to be seen as individuals and be treated as such. And so a tool like this really is the portal for companies to see every human being as unique, for leaders to manage and connect individually. And really, it's the first AI that all employees can use. So if every company's searching for that journey, what do we use where we can all use one common AI? Really, most AI is like, there's a niche for supply chain that's used by 5 people at Ford. There's a niche for, benefits at Comp and Ben by 10 people at GE. This could be, and is for our clients, the first AI journey where everyone is using AI, the same AI, in a fun way. And so it's a great way of learning about prompt engineering, because we've already done some of the questions. So it's kind of a portal into using AI for companies and actually helping them in the future of work, which is really personalization of everything, and that starts with connection before.
Well, I think it's so important. There are so many things underway. Of course, variable locations in terms of where people work. I mean, that's really been completely upended in the last several years. There is also the dawn of the 4-day work week in the United States. It's coming. It's ahead of us. There is also, in this AI era of management, I think an intense focus on humanistic values that will be needed, dignity, kindness, and respect, that are going to fuel successful enterprise. It's a sort of a return to these humanistic values. Correct. I see the rise of the professional manager happening again, because so much is going to be tailored for alpha, for the generations that are ahead of us, many people who don't connect with what organization means anymore.
Soft skills will be the biggest competitive advantage of companies, and this gives everyone an equal playing field on soft skills.
Boy, we're right aligned with that.
Yeah, and then distributed workforces. You said that earlier. This distributed workforce, you don't have time to meet people and do the brown bag lunch and connect over time. You're just getting on Zoom calls, Microsoft Team virtual calls with people all over the world, and it's kind of the unit of work is team oriented. and it's batch and it's by project. And so the more and more you'll be on different teams all the time, cross-functionally, the faster a tool can get people up and running and working well together, the higher and more quickly that team will perform and be more agile. And our tool plays perfectly for all of that.
Well, and what it also seems to do, and we'll start to wrap up, is to think about agency and to think about the power of agency and what you can do with this information in order to build, a better version of yourself, a better version of your leadership, and certainly a better organization that produces the kinds of results that are important for your organizational stakeholders. So, Juan, if you're to offer, some guidance into our HR leaders who are in the audience, they'll see it in the promotion that we do. If they're interested in applying these concepts in the world of work, I don't think you need to be a giant organization with 10,000 people. I think you can do it in a much smaller environment. But what are some of the, what's the advice or the guidance that you would give to these HR and other business leaders who want to begin to engage with this in a meaningful way to affect their leadership and learning and development?
Yeah, and you made a really interesting point there. People ask me, is this just for large companies, 5,000, 10,000? I go, great. Yes, for sure. They can't, no talent management group can impact 10,000 people today. This tool allows them to help all 10,000 employees and democratize these kind of tools, psychometrics and leadership concepts for everyone. But then for small companies of 20 to 500 employees, they don't have the budgets either to even do their employees. So this is a starter kit. Imagine using AI and having a virtual coach, which gives you Fortune 500 quality training and development and leadership training for your small company that you probably would have never gotten to for 10 years. And now you can use this as a starter kit for a couple bucks per person per month. So that, to address the first point you made. On the second point, HR leaders should start learning about AI and looking at, AI for the future work. And there's hundreds of companies looking at different niches. We're the first ones looking at how AI can disrupt psychometrics and leverage that data to make work a more human place, to deliver on whatever the culture is that company wants to deliver at that company. They could go to our website. They can reach out to me at juan@humanintelligence.com. And happy to get one of my culture consultants and AI consultants on the phone or on a demo with them to explain how this could work. We always give a free trial for 2 to 4 weeks for an HR team to use it. And there's no training needed. There's no integration needed. It's already integrated to Teams, into Outlook, into Slack. So you literally can, with a flip of the switch, 30 people can take an assessment on Monday and be understanding each other better by Monday night without the need for human interaction from a coach to train them. They can all start.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. At one point in my career, I managed a number of IO psychologists. They were doing all kinds of research in a big company that I worked in, really leading some of the first people in analytics work. How the world has changed, and wouldn't it be great to have a tool like this today, given all of the conditions that we've discussed? So please visit. Juan's given you some contact details. You'll find it all in the show notes, but humanintelligence.com. Juan, it's been so great to have you on today's podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
And until the next episode of the People Dividend, stay well.